The emerging video standard GPMI, which stands for General Purpose Media Interface, is set to quote unquote raise the bar in AV connectivity.
You know, the standards always show up years before the infrastructure can actually support them.
Although I will point this out, I was very skeptical about USB-C. I was wrong. I very well am wrong about GPMI.
Oh, that's never going to work. That's ridiculous. I mean, that's like a 24-hour cooking network or an all-music channel. Ridiculous. That's really dumb.
New video transport standards, getting what you want from integrators, and QSC sells off a product line. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 743, recorded Friday, November 14th, 2025. Are we ready? This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. We have awards, new alliances, and more news coming for ISE. Let's get into it. We begin with a major move in the cinema audio space. QSC has officially divested its digital cinema speaker, DCS, product line, transferring it to Moving Image Technologies. The deal, which closed on October 31st, takes the entire full DCS loudspeaker lineup out of QSC's core portfolio and places it with MIT, a specialist in cinema systems. For QSC, this is a strategic pivot. The company is doubling down on its QSYS full-stack AV platform and broader AV ecosystem rather than legacy cinema speakers. For MIT, the acquisition gives them a reputable brand and product line they can grow in the global exhibition market. Next up, membership momentum in the SDVOE Alliance. The Alliance has announced that FS.com is its newest adopting member. FS is a global ICT and networking solutions provider serving more than 450,000 customers in over 200 countries. FS brings a strong Ethernet switch and network infrastructure pedigree, and its membership signals deep convergence of AV and IT networking architectures. According to FS, they chose SDVOE because their AV over IP switch lineup aligns with SDVOE's architecture's emphasis on standard Ethernet foundations. On the market front, the global AV over IP, speaking of which, market is projected to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 12.7%. from 2025 through 2033, rising from a valuation of approximately $3.4 billion dollars in 2024 to about $10.5 billion in 2033. Key drivers cited for this is transition from legacy AV distribution to network-based architectures, growth in digital signage, as well as remote conferencing, hybrid work, and smart building and automation. In addition, we also have advances in video compression from 1080p all the way up through 8K and network management technologies. Now, AV over IP is no longer emerging. It is accelerating fast and will form the backbone of many next-gen AV deployments. Looking ahead, ISE 2026 is set for February 3rd through the 6th, 2026 in Barcelona. ISE, of course, Integrated Systems Europe, and AVNation certainly will be there. Now, show organizers are introducing a brand new event called Spark, a 4-day showcase event dedicated to cross-vertical creative connectivity. Spark will occupy a 1,000 square meter space in Hall 8, formerly the esports arena, and is described as an incubation, quote-unquote, concept designed to bring together creative industries, technology, and AV to explore fresh collaborative possibilities. Now, if you're going to be on site for ISE 2026, make sure to capture this Spark concept back in Hall 8. It really does offer a pretty interesting story, and we, of course, will be there. If you're not going, we will bring you stories and videos from Hall 8. And finally, one of our favorite things to do throughout the year is talk about our friends across the pond. The AV Awards, put on by AV Magazine, but the AV Awards 2025 have announced their winners, recognizing companies, products, and people from all over the AV industry. A couple notables. Lifetime Achievement Award went to James Conlon, Managing Director of NIAVAC, for a 40-year AV career. Outstanding Product Award to PowerSoft's Noda 142 amplifier for engineering, innovation, and versatility. And Rising Talent Award to Max Tate from AVI SPL. That is your news for the week. Stick around for this week's roundtable, where we will discuss new video transport standards and what customers really want from integrators. This is AV Week.
Hey listeners, it's your AV sneakerhead, Jennifer Weaver. Listen to AV Career Masterminds, where I chat all things job-related in the audio-visual industry. You can find AV Career Masterminds where you subscribe to podcasts.
All right, welcome back. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week. First and foremost, Kelly Teal. Welcome back, ma'am.
Thank you, as always, for having me.
Absolutely. And a woman that I got to meet a number of years ago while she was working at USC, Lex Evans, is now working for Epiphan. Welcome back, ma'am.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me back.
I mentioned this really quickly. It was an interesting week this week for me from a professional standpoint. AVNation, owned by CTI, integrator out of St. Louis, we had our global sales meeting. And it was just good to see a whole lot of industry friends. My buddy Chris Nutto was in town. A whole lot of folks were in town and got to hang out with them. So thanks so much for coming to the wonderful Midwestern town of St. Louis and hanging out with us for 3 or 4 days. We appreciate it. All right, first story comes to us from Commercial Integrator and Dr. Josiah Way. Now, Joe is writing about, quite frankly, he explains for many end users, the success of an AV project is not just about the gear, right? It's the quality of the partnership. It's the integrator. Some of the key factors that Way talks about includes the integrator's ability to listen first, sell later, maintain clear and frequent communication, deliver on promises with accountability, but also be transparent about both the cost and the limitations of that system or the system that you're proposing. Kelly, I want to start with you on this. When you look at your designs, one of the things Kelly does is she designs for higher education as well as corporate folks. You need to not only design that, but also help your clients walk through and decide on a trusted integrator, decide on their partner. How do you define that for your clients, and how do you walk them through that process?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this also is dependent on what kind of client you're working with or for, but generally customers aren't, clients aren't looking for someone to simply hang a display or install gear, right? So at the end of the day, they want an integrator who is going to actually understand the environment, and they're tired of being pitched this newest product and this latest model. They want someone who listens first, designs second, and installs last, right? So as somebody who worked as an integrator, to be considered a trusted integrator, you had to solve problems. You can't just push hardware. And I saw that happen quite a bit. And they do like the honesty and transparency and someone who can explain what they need. That's the biggest thing I've seen from clients, and the biggest frustration is when you go into a meeting and you say, well, what do you want? They don't want to hear that. It's just as important as what they don't need, right? So they want systems that fit their culture, their workflows, not cookie cutter packages. So you have to have accountability, essentially. You have to have documentation, service after the install, quick support, clear communication. This is what builds trust, and that's the most important thing when you're going into a meeting. And even though I'm a consultant now and I work on the consulting side, you still have to build that trust. And frankly, they want technology that just works, and executives want walk-in simplicity, and they want standardization, and they want reliability. So when someone says they're looking at a trusted AV partner, what they're really saying is understand my space, be straight with me, help me make smart decisions, and this is what clients value, not a sales pitch about the next shiny device. And I think that's really, they need the workflow. They need to set goals, and they need us as AV partners or integrators or consultants. They need us to do that for them.
Lex, from both a manufacturer standpoint, and again, I mentioned the fact that I met Lex when she worked for USC, but also from an end user standpoint, talk for a second about that balance between cost and ability, or cost and communication. I am not sitting here saying that it is one or the other, because it's not. But there's a balance there. You can, if cost is no object, you can have all these things over here traditionally, right? But it's the old adage of you can have it fast, you can have it cheap, or you can have it right, and pick two of them, right? So how do you balance we have a budget, but we also need this thing to be completed on time and on budget with plenty of communication?
My favorite integrators that I've ever worked with, you talk about the budget, you talk about the timeline, you talk about your dreams, and what would be the most ideal situation. And the ones that I found to be the most helpful, successful, and somebody we went back to time and time again was the one that not only was realistic with what we could do right now, but also showed us a roadmap of how we can get to where we wanted while still staying within our budget constraints, and saying, okay, maybe we can't get there here right now, but we can build out this plan, and within the next 12 months, we can get you to where you need to be and be within that budget that you set. So it's not, sometimes it isn't either or. Sometimes it really is like how we can plan it out and build it together. That does bring into question what you were talking about, like timeliness of things. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of those things that I think in any case, that's always going to be an issue. There's always going to be a time issue, so you just have to prioritize and then we're building that roadmap from there.
I say design around the people, not the hardware.
I like that. From our friends over at Innovate, according to a new feature, the emerging video standard GPMI, which stands for General Purpose Media Interface, is set to, quote unquote, raise the bar in AV connectivity. We will see. Although I will point this out, I was very skeptical about USB-C. I was wrong. I very well am wrong about GPMI. Let's just start this conversation by saying that. One of the things that the article explains is that the connectivity changes are possibly huge. More new bandwidth limitations, or new bandwidth ceilings, signal integrity, and the potential to impact thousands and thousands of AV systems. Lex, I'm going to start with you, both from a manufacturer standpoint and an end user standpoint. When you look at new technologies, new connectivities, new cables, new connectors, new whatever coming down the pipeline, at what point in the industry do you go, okay, we might be ready for this on our campus? We might be ready for this in our products. We might be ready for this to start talking about it from a standard standpoint, and we should start putting it on our roadmap in our systems, or start advising our clients that, hey, you might want to start putting this into your systems?
Yeah, so when it comes to higher education, I would say that even the most forward-thinking technological college, even those folks are going to be a little bit slower to adopt it, just because of security, and especially in like large deployments, maybe in, a technical lab or something where they want to push that forward, they'll give it a try. But especially in long deployments, it's one of those things that we are going to be slower, we as in universities are going to be slower to adopt it until, number one, our ecosystems can handle it. Because it's not just saying, okay, I want AK, let's go. It's like, okay, AK, but how is the rest of our system going to support it? Do we have the bandwidth to support it? Do we have, what latency, stability, signal integrity? You're looking at all of those elements. So there's a lot more involved in that. So I would say for universities, we will have had to see it being used successful in vaguely large deployments in at least one example from a trusted partner of ours, for us to probably even consider putting money towards that, unless, there is a special grant or something. So that's the likelihood of us adopting like a 8K and like going hard on this before it becomes a standard, before it's certified and anything like that. From a manufacturer point of view, of course, like, we're listening to our customers and we're always keeping track of trends and the new technologies coming out. And it's our responsibility to future-proof our hardware to make sure that it fits in future integrations, future ecosystems. So we're always keeping an eye on these. I will say, though, that it is also a manufacturer's responsibility to ensure that we're putting in the right checks to make sure that these are stable and reliable. I would rather wait a little bit. This is my personal, not according to FFan, but I personally, as an end user and just being a tech, I want to see something. I would rather buy something more reliable than be upfront and maybe at the forefront of the technology, and then it's just not quite there. Personally, like, when it comes to phones and stuff, I would love to, like, try the newest, funnest gadget. But when it comes to systems that involve other people, that involve projects, and where, you know, the reliability is top-notch importance, that's when I'm a little bit less hesitant, or a little bit more hesitant to take risks on technology that hasn't fully been certified, fully been fleshed out, doesn't have, you know, the infrastructure to support it quite yet. So that's where I stand.
I will give you my opinion at the end of this, because Lex just piqued something in my head, and I'll give you that in a second. But Kelly, first, up to you. How do you balance all of these things? Because you've got the future proof, which is what Lex just brought up, but you've also got the need or the desire maybe of your clients that they want to be on the cutting edge, right? They want to be on the cutting edge of technology. They want the latest, greatest things, but they also want stable systems. and again, cheap, fast, right? So pick one of those three. So it's stable, cutting edge, and stable, right? Cutting edge, stable, and new. How do you balance all those things when you're working with your clients and they're going, you know what, we maybe we need 8K, maybe we don't, but how do you balance all those as you're walking them through this process?
Well, thankfully that hasn't been a huge request yet. But
I'm
actually,
going to back with you in like 6 months, dude.
Exactly. Ask me again in 6 months. Lex's answer actually was a segue to what I was going to say. When we were talking earlier, if the industry is ready for GPMI, HDMI 2.2, or even 8K, the honest answer is not really. And that's not criticism by any means. It's just where we are. The standards always show up years before the infrastructure can actually support them. And I'm okay with saying that. Most organizations are still stabilizing 4K, right? They're dealing with EDID issues and HDCP quirks and extender limits and networks that struggle with multicast, and I still deal with these issues even today. Recent design, I had issues with that. 8K sounds exciting, but right now it's more of a display feature than a true system requirement. So there's very little native content and massive bandwidth needs that networks that just simply aren't architected to push that much data, right? So while the technology is advancing fast, the real world environments, the cabling, the switching, the workflows, and even the budgets are still catching up. So are we ready? Technically, the standards are ready. Practically, as an industry, we're getting there, but we need stronger infrastructure, and we need better networks, and we need more realistic expectations before 8K can become mainstream. And honestly, that's okay. Evolution in AV is incremental, right? It's not overnight. So if we're being honest as an industry, and I will tell my clients this too, we're not fully ready, and that's not a bad thing. It's just reality. And the new video standards always arrive years before the ecosystem and the infrastructure and the workflows until the workflows can fully support them. How I balance that is, I'll let you know in 6 months. And right now it's hard to answer right now because it's not become a point of contention right now. So. But this is what the clients who do bring up these new video standards, I'm very honest with them. The most buildings aren't even designed for the 4K end-to-end yet, let alone the 8K.
Right. And in some cases it's negligible. Like to the regular person, you wouldn't even notice the difference between the two. So is it worth it? It doesn't make sense in that space. It just is. There's a lot of things to. I want to hear your thoughts.
So here's what you kind of piqued in my head, and that was the thing with the cell phone. And a couple things. I am a 50-plus-year-old gamer. I have gamed for the vast majority of my life, so understand that going in. I have had a Steam account. If you don't know what Steam is, go look it up. I've had a Steam account for 25-plus years, right? So we're talking back to the original Half-Life game, okay? Story came out in the last week or so that Steam has come out with a console, which is interesting, okay? So Steam has primarily been a PC gaming only system, right? It's a piece of software, you download the game, bada boom, bada bing. They've had a portable one for a while, and now they're coming out with a console to compete with Xbox and PlayStation. Again, I have been a customer of these folks for 25 plus years. I am already interested, right? It's an interesting thing. However, the older I get, the less I am on the bandwagon of being a first run beta tester. 100% I am interested, but I'm going to let my producer Mitchell, who is probably, more aggressive on this, I'll let him go buy the first generation, and I'll wait for a year and wait for Gen 2 or Gen 3. Same thing here, right? I am 100% interested. I am fascinated by GPMI and all these wonderful, great things. I am not going to design, nor am I going to encourage anyone to design or put these in their system until they come out with Gen 2, Gen 3, or whatever the latest, more stable version.
That's my husband and I. I'm the guinea pig, and then he'll wait. He still has the iPhone 16. He's waiting for the 17 and the 18. Yeah, he's like, and then when the new one comes out every September, he said, I'm waiting till 6 months go by from the first new one, then I'll get it.
Now that you're talking about this, I'm curious if maybe that's something I've identified with my whole life and things might be changing, because I've always been a part of the Apple beta program. Mm-hmm. And lately it's been pissing me off. I turned it off. I was like, that's it. I don't want this until you figure it out.
I will not go to 26 right now.
Yeah. And so I'm like, And then I was actually thinking about my next cell phone. I want to move away from Apple. And then so I was looking at the Galaxy, I think, Flip. It is really small, and then it opens. It's not the really huge one. It gets small, and then it opens into a regular phone. And I am hesitant to buy it because I'm like, oh, it's 7 generations in, but it could be better. It could be better. Maybe I'll wait until the next drop. So I don't know. Maybe I am starting to turn that way, because especially with how much it is these days, I'm like, I don't know.
Tim, next podcast we should talk about is technology advancing faster than our brains can produce it.
Oh, don't give me that. I actually had that conversation this week with somebody. I don't. The aspect, the idea of Moore's Law was brought up in some of our conversations with our manufacturers. And very quickly, in Tim's dumb explanation of Moore's Law is every 18 months or so, the processing power doubles and the price halves, basically. I'm getting that wrong, probably. At some point, there is something else beyond Moore's Law. And I think we're getting to that point because, and I don't know if that's quantum processing or what's going to be the next thing. But something is going to replace Moore's Law. And I think, Kelly, you're right. It is going to get to the point where we can't really, at least us dumb people, which is me, I can't process it fast enough. Like, okay, I'll wait for the second or third generation because I don't want to think about, how it's being processed.
I love existential technology talk.
Yep.
Just really get into it.
It at least keeps my brain young. I don't know about the rest of me, but it keeps my brain young. How about that?
Keeps my brain hurting.
AV Magazine's got an article. There's a couple other places that we could have pulled from, but it looks at the fact that JetBuilt has introduced an AI-powered feature called JetBot Drawings. And Kelly, we're going to start with you on this because, quote, with a single click, you can generate detailed AV system schematics in seconds. So, Kelly Teal, how freaked out are you about this?
I'm freaked out as much as I'm intrigued as much as I'm freaked out. So I think tools like JetBuilt's automatic schematic generators, which are what they're calling it, I didn't know that was the official name. I think they're exciting, but they come with implications, real implications. Okay. The threat isn't that they draw faster than we do. Let's keep that in mind. The threat is that they create the illusion that the design is just drawing lines, right? So when a tool splits out a schematic instantly, clients may start asking why design costs what it does, or why timelines matter, right? So, or why they need a seasoned engineer at all. The reality, though, is that these tools don't understand environments, okay? They don't understand infrastructure. They don't understand standards, workflows, sightlines, acoustics, network segmentation, all the things that make AV design actually work in the real world. They can't think about redundancy in a data center, or ADA constraints, or conduit capacity, or how a cup building ties into a main MMR. They just can't. So the weakness isn't the software. It's in relying on it too heavily. Similar to when we had a conversation about relying on AI bots and chat bots. These auto-generated drawings often look complete, and I'm putting complete in air quotes, but they aren't engineered. And when something fails, if it's the integrator or the designer who takes the blame, it's not the software. So here's the opportunity, right? Look, the tools like this force our industry to differentiate between drawing and design, and they automate the basic drafting, and that's great in that aspect, freeing experienced designers to focus on what really matters: the engineering decisions, the standards, the coordination with architects and IT, the user experience, and seasoned designers, become more valuable because the gap between auto schematic and actual engineered schematic design becomes very obvious very quickly. So I wouldn't say the tech is replacing AV designers, and that's not what my point that I'm making is. I just think it's exposing who is actually designing and who is just drawing. And that's really what's going to come from this. And you have to use it right? And for the people doing real engineering, it's a net positive. I think that it's good, but that's why I say I'm intrigued as much as I am scared, because I don't know how this is going to go.
Is it some of this? And understand, I have never been a design engineer, never have played one on TV or anyplace else. Is it part of it, though? Yes, you guys do drawings, but most of your, this is Tim's definition, and that's why I'm asking you to correct me here. A good portion of your job is communication, right? Yes, you've got the smarts to design a system, right? But then you've got to communicate between the client and the architect and the integrator, and maybe probably even manufacturer at some point. And an AI bot can't do that.
No, okay. They do not capture site-specific nuances. They make incorrect assumptions, and unless you give a very specific and very targeted response, they do make incorrect assumptions. So anything that has to do with, like I said, the EDID routing, network segmentation, things like that, they do miss code requirements quite a bit. And if you don't know your codes and you don't feed it, it's not going to know. It's an assistant. It's an assistive tool. It's not to be replacement. It can fail in many different ways. And to a non-technical PM or client, the drawing will look done. And then to a real designer, it's often dangerously superficial.
Lex, from your perspective, both from a former higher education folks, but also from a manufacturer, what are some of the risks that come with automated design, automated tools, automated systems like that just kind of crank out based on a couple of bullet points, and how do we make sure that, quite frankly, we're protecting ourselves, we're protecting our partners with folks like Kelly?
I'm going to hope I can give my idea across correctly. First, Kelly reminded me of something that's like, it's in anything that's AI, that just, we aren't there with, nuances, like the nuance of the situation and how things are being said and done. And the same for ChatGPT or chatbots on websites. Like, it's not there yet. So it can theoretically do it, but there's just so much that it could be missing, and there could be better results. And so I 100% agree that it should be a helpful tool rather than a solution of sorts. From a manufacturer's point of view, I would say manufacturers need to be ready for maybe faster turnarounds. Another thing that we would have to consider is making sure AI understands our hardware and where that fits. And I would be curious what sort of database it's getting information from, and like making sure that we are an easy solution for AI to put in, to integrate into systems. Because then it's not just about being top of mind for our integrators, our distributors, our partners. Then it's about being somehow top of mind for AI. So that would be an interesting thing. I don't even know. But those are some concerns that immediately come to mind.
I like that. Good place to stop. Thank you both so much. Kelly Teal, how do people connect with you, ma'am?
I am only on LinkedIn under Kelly Teal.
All right, very good. Ms. Lex Evans, how do people connect with you, and how do people connect with Epiphan?
I'm also only on LinkedIn under Lex Evans, or Howdy It's Lex is the thing. And then epiphan.com.
All right. My name is Tim Albright. Do not follow me anywhere. I'm not even going to mention the Bears at this point. But go by the website, if you would, please, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. Actually, we're getting ready for ISE and CES coming down the pipeline. If you're interested in reading things that I write that have nothing or basically nothing to do with technology, you can find me also on LinkedIn, and you can find those articles there. But for those of you watching, if you are just looking for the audio version of this, you can go over and wherever you get your favorite podcasts, you can get AVWeek and all the other ones that we do. And if you're listening to us and you want to, kind of see what we all look like, you can go watch us on YouTube. So either way, go the opposite direction, but go by the website first, avnation.tv. It's avnation.tv. Thanks you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AVWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Hello, this is Steve Greenblatt, host of AVNation's Estate of Control podcast. Each month, Rich Fregosa and I explore trending topics related to control, programming, and automation in the audiovisual industry. We speak with a variety of AV professionals who share their perspectives, knowledge, and experiences. Please join us for this monthly conversation. Check out Estate of Control on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.